we all were chasing our passions, and then like we're like, let's do it together. And then we had the big idea of like, okay, I guess we're a production company now.
Because in the beginning too, is probably for the first 2 years, we had the Tenfold name, but we actually didn't like officially put it together.
We just had to learn to do all the business side of things.
Yeah.
We're all amazing with production, but when we're talking about owning a production company and running a business, we had no idea what we're doing.
I would not be here if I didn't meet the right people and work with you guys to grow to this place. And the more fearful you get, and it keeps you from growing, you literally just get stuck. A lot of people get stuck in this solo mentality for so long.
Right? And that's the tough part. You can't do it by yourself. And then the even tougher part is that costs money. So you're in this between a rock and a hard place. Well, I need to do all these productions to make money so I can pay people to grow my business.
Our first year as a production company, and we got into the winter season, we're like, uh-oh, now there's 4 of us as a partnership and we're not making enough money.
Welcome back to the Unfold podcast. Today, I'm sitting here with Jason, and this is a really special one because we're talking about what it takes to run a video production company. As you know, Jason and I are 2 of the 4 founders here, and we're going to be talking about the sacrifices that we had to do, what skills it takes to run a video production company, what video production companies look like today, and really teach you guys on the things to do and not to do if you're looking to approach this in 2025. We're also going to give you the roadmap to really decide if running a video production company or starting one is the right thing for you to do.
So what did you think a production company was before we started?
See, the funny thing is, it's just like, I feel like we all as individuals are the right people to come together as a production company because I lacked a lot of big vision. You know, what does this look like? I'm a technical person. That's what I've always been. That's always how I execute, and that's how I work. So funny enough, even when we first started, I didn't know what a cinematographer was. I didn't know what a director of photography was.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, cool. I didn't even think of what a production company was. I didn't really, like, our process to get together as a video production company was like, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
I didn't even know that was
concepts.
Like, there's no concept.
Yeah.
I didn't have that thought in my mind because I was just like, oh, I just want to create cool things.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing. And that is, I guess, the curtain that everybody sees when they say, oh, I'm going to start a production company. It's very sexy.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, when we first started, I didn't even know what that looked like for me. I just wanted to create cool stuff with the people around me and my friends.
Yeah. Like it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't really want a name associate with it. I was just like, cool.
Yeah. We didn't really even know what a production company was till like 2 years ago.
Yeah. Cause it's like when you asked me that question and I put myself back in those shoes, like, I don't know.
Yeah. And I also didn't know.
Yeah.
I just knew we needed to create something and brand something because that was the thing I figured out after my first year was that, oh, we can't make it as individual solo artists. Especially from where we were coming from. And so that was the difference. Like if you had gone to film school and you had all these technical skills and all these things, and you were coming at it from a straight, like a DP perspective, then there's a very different path than the way that we took it.
Yeah.
Because you would have to be so creatively on top of things and have the network and have the capability to do that stuff. And we didn't figure that stuff out until like 4 years in.
Yeah, because now even talking about that, it goes back to education, and only Justin really had a background in.
Yeah, but not. He was in broadcast.
He was in broadcast,
so
right?
He knew how to do switchers.
Yeah, we didn't even know what the scope of anything looked like. It was just like we just weren't educated. Because I'm sure in film school you learn how a production works and the video production works in general. It's just like we all were chasing our passions, and then like we're like, let's do it together. And then we had the big idea of like, okay, I guess we're a production company now.
Yeah. And just to give more context, like Zach went to school for
engineering. I did aerospace engineering and then a master's in mechanical.
Yeah. And I went to school to drop out. So nothing really, like very different spaces, very different people. I was coming from a retail space before this. I just picked up an A6400. Zach was already doing some drone stuff, I believe.
Yeah, I started with drones, then my phone, and then it's just a natural progression of it. I just love video.
Yeah. And then when we got together, he was shooting car stuff and I was shooting whatever came my way.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were just grinding it out, doing whatever paid the bills at the time,
Yep.
and sometimes not pay the bills. But that's how we first connected. And so when you guys get the context of that, it's like we were just video professionals, right? We honed the camera. We were doing some edits and stuff ourselves. And
Yeah, we had prosumer gear.
yeah, super prosumer gear. And like he had an A6,
I had an
A7S3,
A7S3 at that time. Yeah.
And I was like, nice.
This guy's got 10-bit.
yeah, he's got 10 bits, it's next level. So it's just so funny to think about how far we were, but it's so clear that we clearly didn't have any idea, right? We were just like, it's more important to learn the stuff and the skills and to do it with friends and people that we actually enjoy spending time with. And then it felt good enough that we were like, it's working.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't really matter. But then we knew, and especially on my end, I saw all these companies landing these bigger jobs, and they were all working underneath a branded title, right? Like a production company. But that to me just was like, there was no association with what that meant. It's just like production company and then a name. Mm-hmm. But I didn't know it came with like responsibilities or skills or what it entailed around that.
It's a business.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you said that, like you kind of opened my eyes up to what this video professional world looked like, because you did the research in terms of what makes like building a brand, what we should do, those next steps and everything like that. And I was just like, camera, like light it good, camera movement, stuff like that. I was just focused on the technical. So we just didn't have the information of what that looked like.
Yeah. And it'll blow people's minds too that the first year Zach never touched a camera.
Oh yeah, I didn't.
We wouldn't let him touch a camera. He was just like our lighting gaffer and all this stuff. But he was still shooting.
But I was still shooting. But I did that in terms of like, yeah, guys, I'm just gonna focus on lighting, and I loved it.
It's probably like the best thing that happened because we were still trying to figure out like what are we doing?
Yeah.
And without the lighting getting better and like Zach learning all the technical back end stuff, it's like I feel like that was like a perfect transition into him becoming a DP and like taking over that role completely, right? Mm-hmm. But it's so funny, like this is the evolution that happens for everyone. It's like you hear the world out there of like, okay, you transition from I have a camera to learning things, and then you're like, right now, especially for a lot of our students in CPM stuff as well, it's like, what's the path? Like, do I go solo or do I become a production company?
There's a huge disconnect of what that path looks like. And then, I guess we get into a little bit of that, what actually it takes to run a production company. Because when we started, again, it was all video professionals. Everybody knows how to make something, right? And then we have this product. But then we're like, okay, just put the product under World, put it under a name, Tenfold, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
But there's so much more than that.
Yeah. And so the reason why we built a production company and put it underneath a banner is because it became very difficult for all of us individually to just post stuff. And it felt like we weren't capitalizing on the bigger scope of it. Like, how do we not be known as small individual pieces? Also, in a way, because in other stories that we've told, is like, sometimes you're a DP or gaffer and like, oh, this isn't really leveraging this properly, right? It's like, you don't want to be known as the gaffer, but you can leverage the work that we're doing and sell it as something bigger as a whole collective.
Yeah, so to kind of visualize what you just said is imagine that we all just worked on a piece and then we all just post it individually.
Yeah.
Right? And then we all have our own thing to say about it. But imagine posting it one place, and then now obviously you have the opportunity to collab and everything like that. And that just opens up everything in terms of looking much more professionally, and then the credits associated with everything like that. And I just want to put some sort of visualization to that, because that's what we were doing at the beginning of like, oh, I did this on this part of this thing. And it's just like somebody else did this. And it was just like,
it was a mixed mash of everything.
What are you guys doing?
Yeah. And so like we very intentionally knew that we needed to brand something different, put a voice behind it, and actually build something bigger than ourselves, because it was just tricky, because one day you would be the gaffer, one day I would be the gaffer, or whatever it is.
You'd be a colorist.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, the optics don't look that great.
No.
And so that was step one for us anyways. It was like, okay, cool, there's something there. We can optically show up better. But that was pretty much the level of like how much we were really thinking about it back then. And so then we transitioned into, okay, let's start actually putting some time and energy into this brand, and seeing where this really takes us. Because in the beginning too, is probably for the first 2 years, we had the Tenfold name, but we actually didn't like officially put it together. Like we didn't stamp a an organization behind it that we
Yeah,
were
an
legit. We were
incorporation.
still like, we didn't incorporate. We didn't figure out. We had to figure out ourselves and like what we were doing, and we're always still constantly doing that stuff. But at the same time, it was like we didn't even feel like super confident. We
No.
were still figuring out the skills.
Yeah, we're kind of just operating as kind of a collective at that point, not
Yeah.
even a production company. And then even if I'm thinking about my experience now of like talking to bigger production companies and seeing the optics and everything like that, I usually see like two scales of things where there's like two people who own a production company or one person. It's usually two people. And then like they have experience in production, but there are only business side. Like
Yeah.
they only have business experience.
Yeah.
And then there's other side of production companies where it's a lot of in-house. Example, we're the perfect example of that because I'm a part owner, you're part owner, everything else like that with Justin and Adrian, but you're a director, EP, I'm a cinematographer, and it just works because we can keep everything in-house, right? So unfortunately in that mindset, we only at the beginning thought like that.
Yeah.
And we didn't see and do case studies of all these other production companies and they're like, oh, they don't have anybody in-house. They're just doing everything business side.
Yeah.
That's what we needed to really focus on. Hey guys, I'd like to take a brief pause on this conversation and talk about the pre-production playbook. I remember there's so many times that I would honestly screw up on productions because I didn't go in with a proper plan. I wouldn't feel confident. And this is why I needed to develop a system. And this is the pre-production playbook. This is my entire pre-production process as a director of photography, working on six-figure jobs, all the way from director alignment to the day before my production and really everything in between. I would love to invite you guys to check out the pre-production playbook, link in the description below.
Yeah, it took us a while to realize the importance of different roles. And then what happens when we started our production company, we ended up taking multi-roles.
Yeah.
And these are non-production related, right? And so it became like, Zach actually ended up doing a lot of the finances.
Yep.
Justin was like Adrian and I like more outreach or whatever it is, or branding. It was like we started to have to shift and do all these multi-roles. And that's the thing if you're a solo person, sometimes you do a bit of everything still.
You have to.
You have to because no one else is going to do it unless
You're a
you get
business
hired.
owner.
Yeah, you're a business owner regardless. And the thing is, when we started to do this, it alleviated a lot of the stress. For example, like Zach was saying, less of the big vision stuff, but really strong technically. That means I can lean on him for technical stuff, and he can lean on me for more big vision stuff of like where we're going, and then I can lean on Adrian about like finances or like where the business is going operationally, right? And then I could talk to Justin about much more like the creative and the narrative stuff of like how do we continue pushing that side. You could technically do this without partnering. Right, you could just again find the right people that you trust, that you can be have these real conversations with, because other people can have different ways of doing things. We stumbled into this and we just continued to push forward into it. But it's not like the first few years were super easy, right?
No, they're super tough. And then like what you said earlier was just like we just had to learn to do all the business side of things. Yeah. We're all amazing with production, but when we're talking about owning a production company and running a business, we had no idea what we're doing. Yes, we did it all as individuals of like, probably a lot of you are your own business owners. You have to do your bookkeeping, you have to do your taxes, you have to do marketing, sales, you have to do your brand development, you have to do like, there's so many aspects of things. And now when we look at ourselves as a production company, we're like, outsource everything.
Yeah. Because I can remember when I was the one doing everything first year, I was like, when do I have time for this?
When do I even have time to make a project?
Yeah.
Right? And that's the tough part. You can't do it by yourself. And then the even tougher part is that costs money. So you're in this between a rock and a hard place. Well, I need to do all these productions to make money so I can pay people to grow my business.
Yeah.
But I don't want to, I don't have that to pay people to do my business. So I'm just going to do it myself.
Yeah.
And that's shooting yourself in the foot.
And I'm sure a lot of people, maybe just you sitting at home and listening to this right now, it's like, yeah, I'm stuck in this little trap here. And when do I even have time? But I know I should do that stuff. There's so many times where I just sat there. I'm like, I know I need to do that stuff, but like it just freaks me out. Like there's so much anxiety built around it, right?
Because it's just like you not knowing. For example, of like when we incorporated, And this is just when business in Canada and stuff, you can do sole proprietorship, you can do so many different things. But because we're an organization, the only thing that made sense is incorporate. And it's just like, I had experience in that because I had experience from my brother who gave me advice of like, oh, if you're operating a business, don't do sole proprietorship and incorporate it because you can save on taxes. It's more steps. But when I did it first for my company, I made so many mistakes.
Yeah.
Right. Because like no one teaches you how to do that.
Yeah.
But what I should have done is gone to a lawyer, gone to a business professional who would do that service for us.
Yeah.
Right. I knew that because I screwed up.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, guys, we need to do this. And this is the service you're going to
And it made
use.
it so much easier.
And then
we just went to a lawyer.
And then, yeah, we just went to a lawyer. And then we also went to a service who just did everything for us.
Yeah.
And then you were like,
Thank God.
thank God.
Yeah.
And then I was like, because
It's just too many steps. You
too many
spend,
steps.
Again, like we talk about, like who, not how. It's like if we spent 8 weeks figuring out how to become lawyers.
That's like, obviously from a business owner, you're like, oh, I'm not going to spend that much money because of that price tag. But then if you go into it's going to take 8 weeks or 4 weeks to learn that, think about how much lost opportunity you have because you're stressed about learning something.
Yeah. It really dives into the idea of like long-term is everything. If you can switch your mindset to being like, let me think long-term, how is this going to affect me? If I can make money further down and it's not going to affect me right now, or maybe it's a short-term hit and you can still get by. Like, I think that's ends up being the trap for a lot of people and a lot of filmmakers in the beginning. You don't have as much money. I totally get it, right? Like in the beginning, I didn't have resources. So, as you know, I didn't drive for like the longest time. I would just like hitch onto people's cars and stuff. But in the beginning, I didn't even have a tripod.
Yeah.
I had a camera and had a gimbal. And then when I first met Justin, I'm like, cool.
You have a tripod?
You have a tripod and a camera. So now we have 2 cameras, right? And so I think in the beginning, this is kind of like a fuller picture for this production company stuff, is a lot of people get stuck in this solo mentality for so long.
Yeah.
Right? You're very scared to reach out, talk to new people, connect, collaborate. And then do you just assume one day all that stuff just happens to you, and then you're like, great, look at this great network I have.
Yeah.
It's like we did it one person at a time. I worked with Zach on this Porsche project, and like it took us time to get to this place where we're like first year we hate each other because we're like, you'll do this, and you're like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, we just didn't figure out who and how to operate,
and then where we were going to.
Yeah, and so like it happens a lot. But the thing is, when you think, like, if we didn't push through and persevere, we would not be here today. We would not be doing the projects we're doing. It's like that constant like limiting belief fear that you're like, I'm not gonna. I had a bad edit one time or a bad editor one time. Like, I'm never working with an editor again. Yeah. I hear that so often. And then one day they find the right editor and like, same thing. It's
of course.
Suddenly my whole life has changed, right? And I can say it with the same thing with these guys. I would not be here if I didn't meet the right people and work with you guys to grow to this place. And the more fearful you get and it keeps you from growing, you literally just get stuck.
Yeah. And I feel like we're talking about so many different facets. And I feel like we have if we're talking about what it takes to run a production company, let's bring it back a bit and give some tangible steps of what that actually looks like. And then talking from a business perspective, obviously you guys got it together with production. That's why you're here. Yeah. Anybody can run a production, especially at any skill level. But what does it take to run a production company?
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't take equipment. It doesn't take investing in the right cameras or that lens or anything like that. If I were to go back, I wouldn't have bought so much gear. We wouldn't have bought so much gear.
Yeah.
Because we're like,
we got too excited.
We got way too excited, right? Because anytime we got money in, we were like, okay, we can cut costs by buying this camera or buying this lens or buying this.
Yeah, our justifications were very wrong. Yeah.
There were things that, yes, moved the business forward. I remember when we bought the Vespids.
Yeah.
And then we were like, oh, full set. And then we were like, okay, guys, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's bring it down to 3 lenses. And then we also got a deal on it too.
Yeah.
Right? That made sense.
Yeah. Because we got the Synology. That made sense.
There's like certain things in the aspect where we did an actual cost analysis to say like, hey, we're renting out this stuff all the time. Can we get a cheaper set? Blah, 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 blah. I know we kind of just went off a little tangent about gear and buying stuff and investments, but like, what does it take to actually run a production company?
Yeah. I think the number one thing is understanding that it becomes a people first business. And it's actually about managing people. It's about finding and leading this. And whether it's yourself too, it's like leading yourself in the right direction, but it's also the people that you start to work with. And yes, you can work and build a production company by yourself, but that's just like the stage one. because even if you're working by yourself, you still need to work with more people to grow, right? And so this is a skill that you're constantly going to need to learn and practice with. But yeah, it's just not a gear thing. It's not like these technical things anymore. That was stuff that you kind of figure out through each production naturally. But it's when you transition over, you're like, okay, now you're dealing with like real numbers, people, how to grow a business, right? You're actually thinking about margins now. Like you can't just like frivolously, just spend whatever you want, hoping that things keep coming through. And it's just a lot more like knowing that you need a system for like lead gen. How do you get clients? How do you build your business? How do you do all these small things?
If we talk about just running a production company, it's all selling. That's it. Because if you think about at the scale we're at now, if you look at any production company in the world, they are repping people.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Right? If you look at a production company, they have reps for a bunch of different directors. That's usually how it goes. And they're selling that product.
Yeah.
They're selling somebody else's work. Obviously, it's a conversation, a people thing first to get them on your roster and everything. And like how we can sell you with our clientele, but it's always just selling something. And if you can sell something, that is what makes a really good video production company, right? With us, we just sold ourselves.
Yeah.
And that was a kind of our edge on things, because it wasn't necessarily we sold the client, oh, we can cut costs. It's just like, we have everything in-house. We can expedite the process so much faster.
Yeah.
Right.
Zach brought up a very good point here. I'm going to cut him off. It's that we are a very, very, very unique setup that even in the beginning, we couldn't explain ourselves properly. And we struggle with that often because people would try to work with us as a production company. We're like, what do you offer though? Like, what do you guys do? And
everything.
And it's just this the whole thing of what we were talking about, right? It took us 3-4 years to figure out what a standard production company is, which is typically you could just become an executive producer, which is you rep other directors and you're a salesperson.
Yep, that's
right.
It.
All you do is go out, you meet people, you schmooze, you get to know like producers from other agencies and production companies, and then you just sell your services. Like, I have the best director, I can make your life easy. You kind of like position yourself in a certain way. The way we positioned it was that we're just the same team, but now we have a company name. And so we were trying to come in as like a do-it-all system. And still in a way we are still that people, but like at least we've built that kind of name under ourselves and people understand what we do. But at the end of the day, even for us, nothing we do works unless we sell. And so it really does come down to how do you become a better salesperson and network through that? And you start to minimize the more technical stuff because you're not selling on technical anymore.
Yeah, because if we talk about any production company and what you said, everybody is technically full service. Yeah. They'll offer everything from point A to point Z, but they will outsource everything. That makes sense. For us, I think our edge and what you have to kind of find your selling point for us is obviously the work. But when it comes to everything being in-house, that's when like a big advantage just comes in this industry. I don't necessarily, even I'm finding the words hard to sell it right now, even if I were talking to you as a client of like what makes you different. Oh, we can just expedite the process because everything is in-house.
Yeah. Yeah. And it really comes down to what the client prefers as well. Like some people don't care how it's done and how you get to the end, but every project is different. Every client's different. And so really how you end up positioning yourself as a production company ends up being very nuanced to what you offer and like how you guys operate. And so like we ended up forcing ourselves as a production company to learn the systems because we didn't know how to outsource it yet, right? And much like everyone here, it's like when you first start, you kind of need to learn all the camera settings yourselves or how to light yourself. And then eventually you can find the right person, like a gaffer, like, an accountant to do the numbers, to whatever it is. At the production company scale, like as a standard version, you just need to know who the right people are to hire on, to bring in. And again, we just took it in-house. So that's the big difference.
Yeah, that's the big difference. But when it comes to it, it's an EP and then
maybe a producer. Yeah, that's it. Like an EP sells the project. They're like account managing it. And then a producer, once this project is sold, they bring in a producer and they're handling all the money, all the details, and the producer's really just hiring all the right people.
Just hiring everybody.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. And then as an EP, you're repping directors. And so from that sense, it's like, oh, I'm selling this director for this project. once it's sold, he kind of just disappear, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's the standard world. And in a way, we still function that way. Like we have an EP in-house, Adrian, and then he sells like me, Justin, or someone else off roster. And then when it gets awarded, and then Zach comes in to kind of shoot, right? And so that's like the only main two differences. We are in-house reps, and then a standard way, if you're trying to run a real production company, you'd be repping people. But if you don't have the network or the connections for all that stuff, you're starting from ground zero, and it's going to be extremely hard to actually jump into it.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a perfect segue into, I feel like we're talking to a lot of people who are doing what we did.
Yeah, not
right?
the other way around.
Yeah, not the other way around in terms of like just being salesperson, right? We're talking about people who own a video business and want to take it to the next level, because I even see production companies like that. And a lot of them are just on YouTube. It's funny enough.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're sharing their journey. They're sharing what it takes to run a video production company and stuff like that. So I feel like, how do we get into some actionable steps of taking your video business that you want to expand it with multiple people to a video production company?
Yeah. I think the step one for all of this is taking a seat down by yourself and having a real clear list of what are your pros and what are your cons.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's like the number one thing that we kind of skipped over in the beginning, because it would have made it very clear about what our like our strong points are and what our negative points are. Because to be very clear and transparent here, like I'm terrible with the numbers, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm very big vision, and Zach, like you said too, he can actually sit down and get stuff done. And when I was looking for people to work with, even in the beginning, it's like, how do I find someone that balances me out or has other strengths that I don't have? And I think without this first step, I see a lot of people, especially some of our students as well, jump into early partnerships. Let me just lock it in. Let me just sign a contract.
No. We didn't even do that.
We didn't even do that. We had to make sure that we actually figured ourselves out first, and then over time.
Yeah, just to pause you there, I still want to continue on that. Like owning a business with 3 other people,
it's not easy.
It's not easy, and it's not common. Usually you'll see 1 or 2.
Yeah.
But if you think about, you have your opinions of where you want the business to go, and then now you have to balance that with 3 other people.
Yeah.
Right? Obviously, it's going to land on somebody more in terms of like, Jason, you're the more big vision and where the business is going. And then that goes into the strengths and weaknesses, where I am very real with myself. And I'm like, I can't really see that, but I know and I trust the people to do that. And I'm just going to execute on what my wheelhouse is. It's just like the technical aspects of running a production company, as well as numbers. That's what I'm really good at, right?
Yeah. Zach brings up a very good point here of balancing people and managing people is the hardest part about any business. It's actually not about technically doing work. When we get to work and we actually just go into a shoot, it's easy. We just snap our fingers and we're like, okay, we just got to get through the technical sides of things. But if I come back and Zach's not happy, then now my energy is all screwed up, because I'm stressing about Zach. I'm stressing about like how he wants to stay into the business, what he wants to do in the future. And so you're really balancing a lot more of those things. And again, we're not saying you have to jump into a partnership whatsoever. You can run a production company by yourself. It's just knowing what you're good at and how to maximize that.
And what you're missing too.
And what you're missing. Yeah, absolutely. What you're missing.
Right? Because we just kind of naturally did that. But the problem is we didn't have that sit down conversation, like you said. Yeah. And we kind of just tried everything.
Yeah, we figured
and then
it out.
We fell into only recently of what we're really good at, right? It's just like, I'm only DPing and editing and working on the education side of the business.
Yeah.
Perfect. Adrian is selling, talking to clients.
Which he's actually always been the most natural with.
Yeah. And he's amazing at it.
Yeah, he's great at it. And it's like the perfect setup for that. And then it was like, in the beginning, when you start, you force yourself to try to be good at everything. Yeah. And then somehow that's a justification where you're like, oh yeah, so of course I'm that person then. Yeah. Because it worked one time. And so here's a perfect example. I was like the EP in the beginning, but I did that out of necessity and not because I was the strongest seller or talker to people, right? I was just doing it with enough reps that I fooled these guys into thinking, I was like the better EP. But realistically, it actually always has been Adrian, right? And Adrian has the strongest touch point in terms of how to connect with people and talk to people and lead that space of it. And selling too, right? Like you have to be a certain personality to drop a number on someone, to negotiate, to do all those things. And if you're just not that person, like if I sent Zach out to do all this selling,
I realize when it comes to numbers and dropping a number on a person, you're not that person.
I'm just not that person, right? I just
you like feel bad.
I do feel bad. I want to give people as much. In the beginning, I was overpaying people like crazy because I just felt bad. And the second we got Adrian there, he's like, no,
No, we gotta run a business.
We gotta run a business. We need margins in here. I'm like, thank God I'm not doing this anymore, right? And like it's vice versa, right? If I had Zach do all the selling and all the meeting, he would.
I wouldn't be here.
Yeah,
100%. I can say that clearly that I wouldn't be here because I wouldn't necessarily. That's not my strong suit.
Yeah.
People even when we talk about directing and meet like our relationship as a director and DP, I'm like, Jason, can you go tell them to do this? Like
sure.
talent and stuff. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to talk to my team.
Yeah.
Go handle it. Right?
This is the beauty of working with people over time. Is like you really figure out like I can comfortably tell other people how Zach would react to certain things because I've gone through it with him so many times, and vice versa too. If he knows I'm in a certain position and you can see me frazzled in the corner, like, yeah, it's because he's seen me do these things, right?
Yeah. Then even talking about a recent commercial that we just shot, Justin was a director, and he is very like shoot it himself, and that's his style, narrative, right? And when it comes to a bigger commercial set, when you have like 40 people on set, he's like,
yeah, why do we have so many people?
Why do we have 40 people here? I just want to do this. I'm like, okay, Justin, we're good. Do that. Like, and then when I start seeing him frazzled because there's like too much going on, that's where I'll take over and be like, okay, Justin, we need to do this and this and this. He's like, perfect, thank you.
Yeah. This is a tangent off of that, but like really when you guys get into more of like these, as you scale up and you start moving into new spaces, everything's going to feel new to you. And sometimes it feels like you need to, especially as a production company, it felt like we needed to mold into this, like what quote unquote a production company meant. And sometimes when we did that, it kind of set us off into the wrong direction.
Yeah. Because I feel like our biggest mistake and our biggest problem is that we were all doing the same thing. We were all video professionals who wanted to create something cool when it came to like just like making a video. And then we're like, okay, let's just all do that together.
Yeah.
And start a production company. But then like in a production company, there's going to be things that you don't want to do. And that's just running a business. The most successful people in the world do stuff they don't want to do.
Yeah.
And they just get it done.
Yeah.
Right. When I'm not always DPing. I'm not always editing. I'm doing other things that just move the business forward. Same with you.
Yeah.
You're not just working on education in the community. You're doing stuff that you don't want to do. Same with Adrian, same with Justin.
Yeah.
Right. But the fact is that we found out we're strong enough in different places and different avenues, and we lean on that heavily. And that's what you have to do.
Yeah, these are the sacrifices that people don't really talk about too much.
Yeah.
Is that, productions are cool and we do a decent amount of them and it keeps things flowing and everything. But the amount of work that's put behind the scenes, the hours we put in, long, late days and nights and things that we just have to do to get it forward, to keep things going. It's like, that's the things that you guys will need to do irregardless of if it's pretty or not, because
it's going to suck.
It's going to suck regardless, right? But the other side of it is you get to do cool stuff.
Yeah, incorporating sucks.
Yes.
Bookkeeping sucks.
Yes.
Counting sucks. Just hire the people to do it. Yeah. And now if I was to ask you a question of like, I know that you've been working on the business side of things a lot more lately, but in a perfect world, you're directing and working on commercials, and then you're also running the business. What percentage does that look like?
Yeah, it's probably more like 20-80.
I was about to say the same thing.
Yeah. 80-20 is always a nice number because at the end of the day, like Zach was talking about earlier, the sales and the function of the business is core, obviously, so you guys can keep going. And you have to evolve sometimes, right? Like in the beginning, I was all in on directing. Like, I'm just going to be the best director ever. And then there's always the itch, and I always tell this to people too. It's like when I came into this space, I learned to direct. I was actually a business person first.
Yep.
And so what happened over time is like I shifted much more into directing because, again, necessity of learning and getting to that next stage. So I learned all the skills. Great. Do I think about directing every single day, every single second? No, I could probably be a much better director if I did, right? And I could spend all my time looking at references and building myself.
But the problem is, yes, you could be the best director in the world if you had time to do that. But now if we go back to the question I asked you about the 20-80, you don't. You only have that 20% to do that.
Yeah. And I know deep down, and this is something that even like this year, really, we had to figure out if like, okay, where's my time best spent?
Yep.
How do I maximize that? And not feeling any types of ways about it. Because I truthfully, I don't really care about the ego of it. It's nice and pretty to be a great director. But at the end of the day, I'd rather have much more long-term success as a production company, allowing us to do cool jobs, more spec projects all the time. And that's not a direct reflection of me doing more directing. It's actually better for me to work on the business to make sure that there's like a better overall vision and picture, and let these guys run it. Because like now I love what's going on. We're like, there's just such a strong system that we had to build over time. We all had the skills. The skills were always there.
No, everybody.
It's just we just had to rejig it to make sure that like everything makes sense.
And I feel like the biggest thing is trust.
Yeah.
Right? Because now you trust us, like we trust each other, not you trust us, but we trust each other to handle the things that are happening on the business to move it forward, right? Well, we were just three of us were recently on a production, and then everybody's talking about like, oh, where's Jason? And we made the joke because there's an airplane flying around while we're doing audio, and they're like, oh, Jason's up there watching. Right? No, I'm like, Jason's working on other aspects of the business. We have employees now at this point, right? And then another thing I want to touch back and go back to on is ego, because I feel like even as we've grown as a business, like we've known each other since 5 years, and the business for 3, 2,
about 3,
2, whatever it is, right? We've known each other for 5 years, and I feel like we had to mature and we had to drop egos. Yeah, because when it comes now, as if a project comes in, I'm not going to be like, I have to DP that. Yeah, I'll be like, what makes sense? What makes sense? What's going to move the business forward? Do I need to do it? Or can we hire somebody else to do it while I'm working on this thing for the business? Yeah. You know, when it comes to education, YouTube, everything that's going on in terms of just having a multifaceted business so we can have multiple streams of income. Yeah. That just makes sense. I'm not going to be like, oh, no, I need that for my reel. I need that for my career. I need that for same thing what goes with directing at this point for you, right? Mm-hmm. It's just like what makes sense. And I feel like because this is such a creative field, and if you're coming from a production background as a director or a cinematographer, it's really hard to let that go as a business person. Because if we go back to the first thing I talked about, the production company, Tenfold, and what you guys are probably doing is a very unique situation as a production company. Yeah. But as a business owner and these EPs and everything, they don't care. Yeah. Whoever shoots it, just get the job done.
Yeah, making money here. Yeah. And that was something that we had to learn very quickly of the focus is on the money, right? And in the beginning, we kind of got through certain things, but like there were seasons where it was very tough.
It was very tough.
Because like our first year as a production company, and we got into the winter season, we're like, now there's 4 of us as a partnership, and we're not making enough money. Mm-hmm. And so these are the things that people don't see in the beginning of, it felt so, again, every pain that we had was equally spread across all of us, because we were so connected to each other, and it felt like we never had any individualism of like trying to do more. How can I individually add to the business? And it felt like every decision, sometimes it's just like, it was my direction and path, and it's like, we just got to do this. But like the best thing with working with other people is like you have the strengths of someone like Zach who like understands more than you, right? And same with Adrian and Justin. Everyone has their own personal takes on things and how they can improve on their own. And so like that ego thing is so huge, right? Understanding that you need to be able to drop an ego to push things forward, because I see it so often where everyone's like, I got to shoot this.
And we've all done that in the past. Like I can even speak on it very bluntly and like, honestly, it's just like if a project would come through, I'd be like, oh, I need to shoot that.
Yeah, it's almost like owed to them, right?
Yeah, it's just like, well, we're grinding this much. So like, yeah, I'm going to shoot that. Like it's a big thing, right? And then that just causes so much imbalance.
Yeah, because even in the beginning, like same thing for me. I'm like, well, I think I have the most experience, so like I should just take it on, right? And you just justify crazy ways to like get the project. And so again, these are the sacrifices and the problems that we also had in the beginning, because you're dealing with people that have bigger intentions to their life. And obviously the thing too is like, we always want to make sure that we align with each other throughout the year to make sure like, hey, is everyone happy? Is everyone like excited about where things are going? How can we improve these things and like actually benefit from it? Because I think there is an evolution. In the beginning, it was like, I feel like you needed to do more. And even for myself too, there was like a span where we did like 6 projects back to back with each other. Oh yeah. And then after that, I'm like, I think I'm okay. Yeah. Like I think we've learned all the skills now, more or less, like the base foundational skills that we don't feel like we're more or less amateurs anymore. Yeah. It's like, okay, I think we're good. Let's move past this stage. But when you think about that, it was like for Justin and Adrian, they didn't get that same experience. Yeah. And so for them, it's like, I still need the more reps to get through this. Yeah, to execute on projects confidently. Because we were working on the technical because it's just like, we just had that connection of just to execute on projects, and we were going. And then it's just like, we fell out of alignment with with Justin and Adrian, right? It's 2 and 2, which should be like 4 of us, right? So that's what it goes into, like at our scale, like to have 4 people work together, it's not common at all. Yeah. It is like,
like if you guys are looking to do the same thing, you have to find the right people. We again didn't incorporate until 2 years after we worked on our first project, and then that just comes with so many things that you have to figure out, right? So, and then that comes with, like, obviously there's 4 of us, and that just all your costs are multiplied by 4.
Yeah.
Because like even a lot of production companies would say like, oh, like there's 4 of you guys.
Yeah, it's like how do
you
make
even
money?
Afford that?
So you just make more money.
Make more money, and that's when it comes into diversifying our business, right?
Yeah.
We're just not a production company. We're education. We have multiple businesses that we've opened, so we can actually build on what that looks like.
Yeah, and there's multiple streams of like access to, right? And so like we all have our own circles and networks, but at the same time we're growing this individual brand, which is Tenfold, and then we're growing it outside of that as well through education and YouTube and places like the podcast. But really, that's the thing that really shifts is when you start to go from an individual person, you multiply the people, but that means that you, in a way, should multiply how much output you can have. And so if I was just trying to do this podcast by myself, I wouldn't be able to because I wouldn't have Zach here and what we were actually building around this. And so you're actually looking at, not just 1x on the output now, we're looking at 4x, and everyone should bring the same amount of energy and time. And again, like Zach was saying earlier, trust is the biggest thing. I can go home and sleep comfortably knowing that everyone's trying to push this forward because we have to, number one. But also at the same time, it's like, this is something that we signed up for. And there's excitement around constantly being able to do new campaigns and projects. So then we can actually continue to grow this. Because it's rare, like Zach said, like 4 people on a company doing it internally rep, like a hybrid model, is very different from how the production film world does it. And then it's very different from like how the YouTube filmmaker kind of does it as well, which is oftentimes solo.
There's a huge, like, I feel like disconnect between that. And there's not a lot of information of what actual productions look like. Now it's a lot more because you see a lot of individuals like DPs, directors talking about it.
Yeah.
But when it comes to us, I feel like we're very unique. And that goes into another experience because take the last project that we were just on is Justin, Adrian, and I.
Yeah.
We have a connection of working 5 years together and productions on everything. And then every client, no matter what project we're on, they're like, this is fun. Like you guys bring a lot of energy and a lot of connection of like, like what's going on here? Why are we enjoying this process so much?
Yeah.
And it's just like, because we're all friends who got together and want to make a production company.
Yeah. Because if oftentimes too, this is exactly what Zach's talking about, is like, if you're just an EP and then you hire on a director and that director's never met the DP before, you just have this like mix mash of stuff. And if the people and the relationships don't like, if their energy doesn't mesh, it's a very big gamble.
It's a huge
gamble.
You
hear that all the time on these like bigger productions where like you have the DP and the director fighting each other on set. You're like, I wonder how the client's going to feel about that, right?
Oh yeah, it's a total turnoff for them.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's why we have a lot of people who are our clientele now, they trust us.
Yeah.
They're like, obviously first experiences are a little like, oh, what's going on and everything. And they're like, we see the way you guys work. You guys execute on a different level in terms of just the connection and how you guys like do things. We trust you, whatever you guys want to do at that point, right?
Yeah. So the beauty of it too is like, as a production company and how much more resources we have as a crew, we've been able to move much faster and grow faster, which means the better thing here is that we actually get opportunities to try new things and fail faster. Right? Because every time we fail on something, we're like, we're never going to do that again. And then it makes the next project much better and cleaner. And I'm constantly, even though I'm not doing as much directing right now, when we're doing productions in-house, I'm like, I have very specific notes to the team too, as they're going through it, to be like, make sure this is covered because we don't want to fall for this same trap. And that's the thing, guys, you can make a mistake once or twice. You don't want to fall for it a third time because then clearly you're not learning something from that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, productions are fun.
Running a business is fun too. It can be. It's tough, right? And again, to give you guys perspective, we met 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And we're getting to the point where we're like, maybe not starting to feel comfortable, but starting to be like,
the flow is there. Yeah.
The flow is there. We kind of figured everything out. We ironed out the kinks. And I feel like we've learned this from another production company is like, it's the 5-year mark that you actually feel that you started a business.
Yeah. It's the hurdle where once you get over that, then things get a little bit more clean. And like, if you can get past that, then typically you're pretty much fine.
You're pretty much good.
Right. And so the bigger thing too is like with production companies, it's a decision that you make and you need to be sure to make that, right? So it's easy to start one. because everyone can start a production
Anybody
company
can
today,
start.
tomorrow, whatever it is. It's what it entails. It's, are you willing to put in the time and effort to learn the systems that it comes with? Because I wish it was easier. And the thing too is oftentimes you just need mentorship or people a couple of years ahead of you that show you like, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. It's exactly what we're doing right now with this podcast. It's like we're telling you guys all the things that you should avoid and be very aware of, because it's so easy. Because I've gone through other businesses in the past, unrelated to filmmaking, where I jumped into partnerships very quickly, and like complete values are different. And you're like, I can't get over that value that you offer or bring. And just because you have here's a big one, just because you have a similar cause of wanting to do more productions, or you're both creatives, like that's not enough, right? Like that's the fastest way to burn out, and it's the fastest way to just hating other people. Because once you can't connect on one thing or have the similar direction, it's game over, right? Because if your values are off and you don't know how to communicate it and you don't know why this is happening, then there really is no continual progress. Because there's times where like Zach has to do stuff that I ask him for that he absolutely hates. And I'm like, I can't really ask anyone else because we're in this bind right now.
But I'm not going to be like have an ego towards it and be like, I'm not going to do that. Are you kidding me? No, I'll be like, oh no, we got to move the business forward. I'll do it.
Yeah, and it sucks sometimes.
There's been so many times where we've both done that.
Yeah.
With everybody, where it's just like, guys, we got to do this. We're like, okay, because we have the shared vision.
Yeah.
Right? We have the experience of working with each other. We have the experience of like, oh, not this one person's working so hard and everybody else is doing everything. Everybody has the goal to work on that big aspect of it.
That's like a huge one. It's like, it's just a trust thing.
It is.
Right? It's like, I don't care how much time I spend here. That's my choice, right? And something that we learned as well too over time, it's like time being spent doing something doesn't mean necessarily that one person cares more than the other. Everyone just has different ways of approaching it and doing their things. But at the end of the day, as long as you can align, make sure that you guys actually can communicate being the biggest one. It's like, if things and small things kind of like turn into resentment and grow and all these things, like communication is number one, guys. So really it's like, who can you comfortably communicate with, even if it's not a good communication in terms of like, it's like, as long as you can actually get through conversations, that's more important than being like, building this fake facade in the front end. It's like, you have to be able to talk about the hard things as well as the good things, because majority of the times it's going to be the hard things.
Yeah. No, it's 100% right. Right. And then when we talk about, I feel like we can kind of wrap it up here of what it takes, not what it takes, but what it looks like to run a video production company. If I look back, I assume everybody here watching this or listening to this podcast is a video professional. You can execute on a lot of scale of production.
Yeah.
Hands down. Even if we look back on when we started, everybody could do that. No problem. Don't focus on the production aspect of it. Don't focus on the product. You already have it.
Yeah.
It's again, 20% of actual video, 80% of running a business in sales. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah. Can you guys align, right? Because it's just so easy. You can do jobs forever. Like if Zach left right now and he just wanted to go solo, you could just shoot stuff forever, right? And like same for us too. Is like I could start getting into directing more.
But there's a ceiling.
there's always a ceiling of like who you're capable and what you're capable of. And if you just reverse engineer, which is the number one skill that any video professional should ever learn, look at the people 5 years ahead of you, 10 years ahead of you, and be like, what are they doing? Find the best. There's like a pattern in there. Right? All the best directors out there, they always have their favorite DPs. And when they grow together and do often like a lot of work together, both of them grow and explode together. Right? And then it's like finding these little patterns, right? Because that's what we had to do. It's like, what are people like Step doing? Like, what are the people that are like, we're watching outside as well? And how are they elevating to that next stage? Because it's so easy to look around you. And this is something I think is a big trap for a lot of people. You look around you to see like, what's out there, how can I elevate? But if your circle's too small and you're not really indulging into the next levels of things, you very quickly get trapped in like, oh, I can only do car commercials or like car videography or like barbershop videos. Like when I was only doing that stuff, I didn't and I couldn't think further. And the beauty of like working with people like Zach and Adrian and Justin is like everyone's always looking to grow and like the next stages, and we're always sending each other videos and commercials of like, oh, potential directions and things we can do. Like that's the level and stage that everyone needs to get to, irregardless if you start a production company or not. You just need to understand that there's more out there. Whether you choose to become a production company, there's things and responsibilities that come with that. If you want to go the solo route, you definitely can, because a lot of people do.
Yep.
You just need to know what that comes with and the choices that you're making with that.
Yeah. And you said it first at the beginning. Being a video production company is a people first business.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Even if you're solo, you either better be very, 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 very good and be the best DP or director ever. But you still need to talk to people.
If you suck with working with people, you're never going to get a job.
Yeah. You hear this often too. Like directors are like on set screaming at people and you're like,
I'm not going to.
Damn, that's just not who we're trying to be. And like, this is something that you have to discover for yourself. It takes time, but the faster you get to understanding, again, the differences of a production company and going solo, the better you'll be off into the future, you know? Sweet. Yeah. So that's the wrap on today's podcast. It's really about being a production company.
Yeah. I hope this gave you guys some insight, you know, whether you're adapting to your business or whatever you're doing, and kind of learn from what we did right and we did wrong.
Yeah, because we're still learning, but it's the fun of it. So we still get to keep doing this, and we hope you guys are doing this for a long time. And we'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, and if you guys have any questions, video production related, DP or related, director related, anything, let us know in the comments.
Actually, if you guys got to the end, drop the word production company in the comments.
Damn, those are the real ones.
Those are the real ones, yo. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.